Good.
Welcome, Christine, to my YouTube channel. Christine and I met a little over 2 years ago through the Jehovah's Witness Empowered group, and we were both admins. And then I hired her as my business coach. She helped me craft my coaching business in early 2021. And yeah, so when I was doing all these interviews, I haven't done an interview on here since I was in Sweden, which has been over a month now. I've just been taking a break, hosting my retreats here in Costa Rica. I'm working with my one-on-one clients. And yeah, Christine and I are kind of on the same page when it comes to just where we are in life and working with clients and helping people work through trauma. So I was like, I want to bring you on. Like, I haven't spoken to you in such a long time, and I haven't really heard your story in full, just in bits and pieces when we first met. So I think it'd be really great for you to share a different perspective on, because I know that you left the religion very early on and never got baptized. But I know that there's a lot of people that are listening that are in your shoes that never got baptized, but the religion still has a heavy role in their life today. So yeah, so let's just get into it. So Christine, how did the Jehovah's Witnesses come into your life, and what is your story as a Jehovah's Witness?
Great. Well, thank you so much. I'll just share, it was such an honor to meet you in the Empowered Minds ex Jehovah's Witness Facebook group. Just someone who was speaking a similar story or where you were headed anyways with helping clients. And so that was really exciting to meet someone who understood me, I felt a little bit more. So I'll share what I do now is I am an intuitive business coach for those who are energy aware, want to help people to move through any kind of trauma or really just learn self-regulation tools and how to come back home to ourselves. And so when we met, let's see, I'm not even going to try and remember when it was, but in the group, I was in there trying to heal and figure out where my roots had come from, where the roots of my trauma or what I believed about myself for the world. It all started from my childhood and when I was born in was witnesses. And I'll share a little bit more about my younger childhood story in a moment, but I was able to leave at 13 because my mom had been disfellowshipped. I was born out of wedlock, and we know the organization doesn't like that. So she was she wasn't disfellowship, but she had moved away anyways from the religion at a very young age. She had me at 20. And so I had I would say kind of a normal childhood. I mean, I was born in, grandma and some other family members were in the religion, but my mom wasn't really practicing. We would go to the Kingdom Hall here and there. Some of my family members, they would look after us, my sister and I. And so I remember being taught, different things, scriptures and all of that. And then at age 9, my grandma was like, hey, you got to put the girls back into the religion because they need, I don't know, some foundational religious beliefs or that Armageddon was coming or who knows why. But my grandma just felt like it was time that we went on a regular basis. My mom worked a lot, and so she didn't actually take us to the meetings. We had a couple in our congregation pick us up. So we went with strangers, which was so incredible to me now looking back, because our family, we had 3 different family members who were in the religion, and they went to 3 different Kingdom Halls. But because we weren't in their territory, we didn't get to go with our family as little kids. We were 9 and 8. We had to go with another couple. It just blows me away today, just thinking about it. But anyways, so at age 9, okay, so I've had birthdays and Halloween and Easter and all of that. My mom always, did holidays in a really big fashion because she didn't have them growing up. And so, we had that. And then now I'm in the religion and no birthdays, no celebrations. Now I'm standing in the hall for O Canada and the Lord's Prayer. Total weirdo, I felt like. And the kids were just so curious, like, why are you in the hall? What are you doing? There were so many questions that were asked. And, just just that whole part of really figuring out who you are. There's so much social pressure in school anyways, and then to add the religion, which was new for us. It was a really trying time as a kid, and going door to door, right? A kid answered we drive by the house sometimes. I even know the house that when I was younger, that going door to door, a kid from school opened the door and I just was mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say at school on Monday and all this? And I just remember thinking like, wow, this is really hard. We're being asked to do things that are really hard. And so by the age of 13, I asked my mom if I didn't have to go back. My sister remembers, but apparently I was crying, putting on makeup, getting ready for the meeting, and we just didn't want to go. So she said, why don't you ask mom? And thankfully, my mom said okay, and we didn't have to go back. One of the things I think that was really hard for me, I'm a very sensitive person, is the shunning, where, if it's God's love, how come then our family member or community member is then, we can't talk to them? They have to sit at the back of the hall, and it's announced at the front that they did this bad thing, and we're to shun them completely. And I get the whole like thought behind it, hard love, bring them back into the fold and all that. But it was just too hard for my sensitive heart that this person who's supposed to be part of our tribe and community has to sit outside of us, and we can't talk or interact with them. And so that was one thing. I also went to a kids party, a teenage party, I guess, and the kids just felt like zombies. I grew up in an apartment complex. We had a swimming pool and a gym and all this. So we hung out with the kids from our neighborhood, and we were our own little gang in a sense of hung out after school and that. And so I hung out with regular kids. And then I went to this Jehovah's Witness party. I was probably 12 or so, maybe 13. And it just felt like they couldn't be themselves. It was just like this mask, or they were just empty inside, I would say. And it just felt so, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. I was just like, something here just doesn't feel good. And so that was really, I feel, like my memories of the leaving and all of that. I've even, through the last couple of years of really going in and healing any, past roots of where do I have low self-esteem, or views about money, or how to be in a relationship, like all of those things I know we learned from 0 to 7 years. And so I had to really go back and look at, okay, what were my roots? And the Jehovah's Witnesses had a huge part of that. And so by, looking at it from that lens or that angle, I was able to start healing myself from, some of these beliefs about myself that I feel were not even my beliefs. They were programmed based on my environment. And just so grateful for Rodney and his group and his boot camp. I watched it with my sister and my aunt and my mom, who's not we're none of us are in the religion, another aunt that's not in. And we were able to heal some, deep rooted subconscious beliefs that we had about the world or ourselves through through his boot camp. And I was like, wow, this is just so fascinating. There was still more to uncover, and I don't want to blame, the organization per se, because I feel I like the etymology of words, and when we blame, we be lame. And so that was just something that, I was a part of. I feel like it trained me for who I am today, and I get to pull out the parts that were really good. So I started to look at, okay, what were the good things that I can pull out of it so I can hang on to that instead of, the negative things that I was feeling. I had to heal so much anger, like rage, because it separated our family. Half was in and half was out. And I always, grew up thinking like we're not like normal families that get together for dinners and stuff and can love each other, or just hopefully unconditionally. There's always this thing in the room of you're not good enough because you're not, obeying Jehovah or in the truth sort of thing. And so I've lived under that my whole life and still to this day, but learning how to move past that. And so the good things that I was able to pull out were that, they taught us how to be really good teachers or students, right? We had to study every week, many, many times during the week, doing talks on the stage, with my grandma. Even though I don't believe, what the religion shares now, I really do cherish that time that, I was able to have that moment with my grandma, my sister and I on stage, as weird as it is. But that was, something in my memory bank that I'm really grateful for, her just taking the time to coach us through on how to do a talk, which now is so helpful for me as a coach because those were my learning years. Um, Also a high level of discernment, right? Have to have that. I would say some critical thinking skills. Now I've learned some other things, but just looking at, yeah, where are the parts that I can take out from that experience and really hold them as part of my personality and something that is helping me. For anyone who is a coach or who on the other side, hey.
You
So
said for
I'll
any,
continue to share here is that,
yeah,
just
sorry, for anyone who's a
just
coach.
learning and to pull out the parts that help me, the high level discernment that they really taught us how to be good teachers or how to study material and then be able to present it back to someone. That is what really helps me now. So instead of thinking about all the hard things, I really just looked at how can I take that time and use it for now, that it's beneficial and not something that's this big weight, or that anger and bitterness that I've carried for so many years. I've been able to heal that, thankfully. And I'm so grateful that now I can look at it. And I never, ever thought I would say this, but to have gratitude for even being part of the organization and learning all the things that I did. A funny story is when I went on my first Zoom call with the Empowered Minds group, it was Cindy and another healer. I'm sorry that I forget her name right now. But the two of them were on the call, and immediately getting on the call with them, I just felt a shame and a judgment from them that wasn't warranted. They weren't in that energy at all. It ended up being that we could talk about energy work and coaching and what I'm doing, that their story, what they were doing at that time 2 years ago was very, similar to what I was doing. But my immediate thing, just because of the affiliation with, being an ex-Jehovah's Witness or the organization, this immediate shame, like they didn't, my internet cut out and the Zoom, I guess I got off the Zoom call or something. They didn't think I was going to come back. I guess just the look on my face was like, oh, what's this conversation going to be about? So it's so funny to me now. We laugh about it still, Cindy and I, of that first time and just, really I think we just have to take a look at where did I form the beliefs that I have today? What do I want to rewire, reframe, and what am I living experience now that feels much better? And, just have so much compassion and love for everyone involved because we only are doing the best we can at every moment with the skill set we had or we have. And so just, if you don't like your life and the way things are, then learn a new skill set.
Thank you so much, Christine. I think that you explained it so well. And even though, as I said earlier, that the Jehovah's Witnesses weren't part of your life for such a long time, you knew that it affected you and that you were able to break free from those limiting beliefs and the habits and all that stuff that the witnesses did put on you. And people don't understand that it takes time for just to even recognize that within yourself and to be curious about how it is affecting you, because it does affect you, whether you know it or not, it does affect you. And also how you were able to change your shift as far as the organization, not blaming them, but taking the good out of it. And I've done the same, and I'm very grateful for them. And I know for some people listening that that could be a hard pill to swallow, I guess you can say, but you have to take the good things out of it because it did help you become the person that you are today. And if you don't like the person that you are today, then it's up to you to change it, because only you're in charge of your life. No one is holding you hostage. You're able to freely move into this world. You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. If you don't like your current beliefs, your current habits, you're allowed to change them. Yeah, so thank you so much, Christine. I have definitely found a lot of uh, gratitude too with this interview, because I think, like, again, we share so much of the same kind of skill set and just vision of how we see the community. Is there anything that you feel like you missed that you wanted to add to this interview?
Yeah, I'll share kind of some. I left at 13, and then I was in school. I was hanging with the wrong crowd. I was, begging off classes, and I just knew internally I needed some more discipline. Kids are so great. Like I raised a niece who's 10 and she knows exactly what she needs. And so at that time I switched to the Catholic high school because I knew I needed some more discipline. I knew how to beat the whenever you begged off class, you'd get a pink slip and you had to go see your VP the next, like that day or whatever. And I just would throw it in the garbage and not go. So I never really had to be held accountable at the public school. So I went to the Catholic school and I knew that I didn't know their system and I wouldn't be able to beg off as much. I didn't want to be, you know, pregnant and drop out of school at age 18. No disrespect to anyone if that's been their story, but I knew that I wanted to go through school. I wanted to finish. I wanted to make something of my life. And so going to the Catholic high school, oh man, I was like, no, this is not for me. Like it's so methodical. There's no love or passion behind, and there's no teaching. I was like, this just felt so boring. And then I married and divorced in a Baptist family. And so that was very interesting because when I started going to the Baptist church, I convinced my whole, well, I didn't convince anyone. I was telling my whole family, this is the actual religion. This is the real truth. Because really, I was accepted into another group, another tribe. And they were also teaching from the Bible. So that really felt like home. And then after my divorce, I've traveled the world now. I moved to a couple different countries, Costa Rica being one of them. And I started going to non-denominational churches instead of like a certain kind of religion. And then once church went online, thanks to the internet, I started just saying I was going to church, but I was going online. I just kind of drifted away from religion altogether. And I was coasting. I would say I was in the wilderness. I didn't really know who I was. I was just kind of, plugging along. I was a travel agent by this time. And so a lot of alcohol, partying, sex, all of that was like the pendulum swung the complete opposite other way. And I was, it's like girls gone wild, kind of crazy. And then I've come back into the middle of like, okay, who am I really, without extreme religion, without extreme, being by myself or partying and turning to the worldly kind of things that we were taught. And I feel even, through that experience is really just learning a lot about myself, what is important to me, what does resonate, and, holding on to those pieces instead of trying to fit into another group or community, instead of looking for validation outside of myself in another group or person or community, to really just getting clear on, what do I believe? What does feel good? I would say I'm spiritual, and that even I feel in the spiritual community, there's a lot of cultiness in that too. Just simply like nature and connecting to God, just direct, no, just there's, yeah, just lots of ways that you can connect to God, creator, source, spirit, healing the word Jehovah as well. That was another part of what I went through, of like not even wanting to associate with that word, to it's okay. I can say it now because it's a name of God. That is true, but it's not connected to the anger or resentment or hurt that I had towards the religion, basically for separating my family, and really healing those deeper parts of us, that I can come to a place and I can even speak about the Jehovah's Witnesses with, compassion. I would say, there are these stages of awakening to our own consciousness or where we are. And I feel going through and healing any grief, deep, deep sadness or grief, is a part of your journey back to healing yourself. Because when you can really, honor the anger, honor the shame, honor the judgment or the fear, whatever emotions are coming up, but we move through these stages, I feel, when we are, something really hard happens, or we're angry at someone, or, it's this blaming of they did this to me. And then it goes to, well, okay, well, what am I responsible for? What part of it can I, maybe have forgiveness for myself? It's not even about the other person, just kind of moving through that. And then having compassion that that person or that, we'll just say organization and state, it had a reason for starting, but we've evolved. We don't need these strict rules anymore. And so compassion for the people who are involved or who did, for me, it was my grandma who went into the religion first, I think, just to get away from her Catholic husband. And she had 6 kids, and it was like, help, as a single mom in the 60s, that was huge. So even just person, or I'll just say that, and when you're going through something hard is think of that person from ages 3 to 5 and what they've been through or what their view of the world is. And then you can move into gratitude and even being grateful for something happened. So it's just these stages of how you move through your own healing journey, and just recognizing where you are is exactly where you're meant to be, that you didn't lose out on anything, is that you get to heal yourself. You get to find a way to move forward and, figure out whatever your path is. I was just thinking the other day, I know that some people have complained, well, I didn't get to go to university or college, I wasn't encouraged to do that. And it's like, okay, so that was an expression, yes, or a perspective, and it happened, and we honor that. But what do you want to do now? Like, you get to do it now, right? And let that be a part of your story, is that, I did this hard thing and look at me now, and you'll feel so good about yourself because you actually took charge to make changes in your life. And it wasn't you're waiting for someone outside of you to give permission. Give yourself permission and go learn something. Breath work is amazing, as a start for inner healing, and just learning how to actually connect to your body to calm any fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fawn is a people pleaser. F is the fifth one that I like to teach, of those who use sex or substance as a coping method, because that was me at a point. And so it's just really learning how to come back home to yourself in whatever way feels good and delicious, because you have that freedom to do so today.
Thank you so much, Christine. Sorry, my internet connection has not been the best. Grief is something that every ex-witness has to realize that they have to go through in order to heal. And with grief comes the 5 stages. There's denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance, and I wrote this down. Anger, depression. Oh, depression is what I missed. And acceptance is like the final nugget where you're finally like, okay, I've accepted everything that has happened and I'm ready to move on. So you're no longer pointing the finger and blaming the religion, but you're taking responsibility and you get to move and shift, as I was saying earlier, into your place in life. Again, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's very interesting because I also think that there's a lot of witnesses that jump from being in the religion to being a Catholic or another variation of Christianity, like from one religion to another. And I also love the fact that you said that within the spiritual community, there's also like a cult, which I totally agree with as well. And your relationship to source or God or a higher power or Mother Earth, like whatever higher power you feel like you want to connect with, that's entirely a personal journey. And it's not something that ultimately, like, I want to have a relationship with God like that person. Like, no, your relationship with God or source or whatever you want to call it is your personal relationship. Don't compare it to anyone else. It's your personal journey, and it's the way that you want to have it. So it's so much that we had to cookie cutter when we were in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, we had to love God like this, or else it just wasn't coherent with the religion. And yeah, now we get to do whatever we want and get curious about what that looks like for you. Yeah, so thank you so much, Christine. I'm going to ask the question again. Is there anything that you
You're
feel
welcome.
like you missed out that you want to add to this interview? Because I feel like it's been very thorough.
Thank you. Just one last thing that I think is actually, it's very funny for our community, those who know the organization. So I've been studying something called human design, quantum human design. And part of what I'm here for is passion and creation, which is cool. But what I'm here to communicate is truth. And I love that because, I'm not in the truth. I don't use that word anymore, but that's what I'm here to communicate to the world, is attunement and the truth. And so I've just had to figure out what is my truth for myself, and and kind of communicate that in a way that feels good for me. So that word, when I saw it the first time, I just giggled because there's a deeper meaning to that word for all of us that are listening.
Absolutely. I'm a truth seeker. So after leaving the religion, like I feel like the authentic communication when it comes to people speaking their truth that's where for me that like resonates so much. So thank you again for sharing, Christine.
You're
Um,
welcome.
I really appreciate you being on my channel, and hopefully I can cut this video where everything aligns with each other, because like I said, my internet has been really not the best here in Costa Rica. But thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.